Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the CHINWAG. My name's Tommo, let's talk all about the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, shall we? Welcome everyone live in the YouTube chat as well. Holden, Blue, Noor, Stella, Forge, Dunder, Brookler, Daniel, Pranav, and the rest of you. Let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it, shall we? The third of a triple header. We're back in Saudi Arabia around the streets of Jeddah. An incredibly fast circuit, an incredibly... dangerous to a point, you got to say. Like, it's a bit sketchy in places. I'm going to drop a poll. What do you make? You make of the Saudi circuit? What are your thoughts and feelings? Do you think it bangs? Do you think it clangs? Round 5. We put the headphones on. I speak louder because I can't hear myself. Bosh. What do you make of the Jeddah Corniche circuit? What do you think of it? Any good? Any not good? Any great? Any wonderful? Any glorious? What do we think? I don't understand why it's lagging. I literally don't, because everything's fine on mine, so I'm just going to carry on as is. Sorry everyone, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Right, so Jeddah Corniche, what do you think? What do you think of the track? 28% banger, 56% small bang, 11% mild clang, 4% clanger. So generally speaking, you think it's all right. And you know what? I agree. It's a fun, interesting, different kind of circuit. And we saw a lot going on last year, but we won't get into that just yet. Let's talk about Jeddah Corniche. 6.17 kilometers, 50 laps. Pretty flat. Not much undulation, but street circuit, the walls are absolutely right there, ready to gobble up anyone who's not fully confident in their car. And that's going to reflect in my bangers and clangers, in my predictions. Okay, because, yeah, this is one. If you get it wrong, you get punished. We saw Stroll go into the wall last year. We saw Lando hit the wall in qualifying as well. I remember when Max was doing that unbelievable lap in 2021 and hit the wall at that final corner. It gives, and when you're on a stonker of a lap, it delivers, but also it bites back big time, big time. So yes, turn 1, turn 2, chicane. That's the main kind of overtaking zone here around Jeddah, and then we've got the swooping section of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all those corners, right? Mick Schumacher tripped up there in the Haas, didn't he? Had a big shunt. We saw, actually going into 4, K-Mag put Albon in the wall. Kind of squeezed him a bit naughty. And then the long left-hander, I remember Stroll put a worldy move on. Was it on Science around the outside of turn 13? I want to say maybe a couple of years ago. And then 14, 15, 16 starts swirling again. And then 22, is that 20? Yeah, it's 22. That's where Stroll had his incident. I think, did Charles crash out at 22? I want to say Mick crashed out at 22 as well, another year. So no lag in Australia. Well, that's the main thing. As long as there's no lag in Australia, we're good. And then down to the final tight left-hander. We see many DRS games. We have seen many DRS games there in the past, which has been kind of entertaining, not going to lie. They have kind of moved the DRS sections around to try and stop that, though, because it was getting a little bit sketchy, a little bit dangerous to a point. And, yeah, 50 laps of the Jeddah Corniche street circuit. I'm here for it. But what happened last time out? Well, the Red Bulls were cooking. This was the start of 2024 when Checo was very much here and about. And he runs well at Jeddah, always has done. Street circuit merchant, you can certainly consider Checo as, and he delivered around a track like this. P2 in the end. Max, of course, won the race, and that's a certain Mr. Charles Leclerc who finished P3 in the end. It was actually a pretty exciting, interesting race. You had Ollie Behrman making his debut for Ferrari because Carlos obviously had to have his appendix out. We had, what other things do I remember? I remember Ricardo having his spin, which is a shame. Stroll, Stroll hit the wall. Magnussen pushed Albon into the wall. We had Behrman making some decent moves as well. Actually, that little kind of cutback switch on the inside was decent because he put it P1 in F2 qualifying, did Ollie. I expect good things from him this weekend because he definitely likes it around here. Was it Charles crashed in 2021? There you go. That makes sense. So look, it delivered. It was an exciting race last year. I'm expecting more of the same. Yes, of course, the dirty air with these cars is getting a bit problematic, but obviously as the field spread gets closer, there's not a load of room to overtake around Jeddah, but that turn one opportunity it feels like the main one, doesn't it? It's turn one where the moves get done. And again, if you're ever so slightly punished, you're in a bad way. You're in a bad way. Jeddah 21 is my favourite qualifying of F1. Ever commentary really made it as well. Yes, Kane, that was exciting. Oh, when Max hit the wall, the gearbox, and he just had to pull it up straight away. Damn, that was what a season that was, man. 21 was just like, forget Abu Dhabi 21. Just that whole season was just absolute chaos. It was, damn. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to cover it on the Tommo YouTube channel, as I was back then. Still going. Well, you can argue whether I'm still going strong or not. Still going, all right? We're still chugging along, okay? Doing our best here. So yeah, last time, decent. This time, hopefully, it delivers. But how is the Drivers' Championship looking after 4 of 24 rounds so far this year? Lando Norris 3 points ahead of Oscar Piastri. But the momentum does feel like it's with the Australian. I put my video out yesterday talking all about Oscar. And I think, look, ultimately, Lando is up against it right now, it feels, because he's not as comfortable in the car as Oscar is. And as much as Lando is now 3 points ahead of his teammate with 20 races to go, if that doesn't change, it's hard to predict Lando will finish ahead of Oscar because Oscar feels more comfortable in the car. Now, can Lando find something in setup? Can he find something in himself? Can the team change something fundamentally with the car to make it quicker for him? Perhaps. Time will tell on that front. Time will tell, but it's very, very tight at the front. Max, you still can't write Max off, right? Obviously, around Suzuka, he was able to cook, and then Bahrain, we saw the tyres get cooked in the worst possible way for Red Bull. They were arguably slower than the Alpine, at least the fourth quickest car. At best the fourth quickest car. But around Jeddah last year, Max did win quite comfortably. You got to think that, there's more high-speed stuff around Jeddah than slow speed. It is definitely more front-limited as a track, which should mean that Red Bull are in a better place than they were in Bahrain. I think, anyway. That's my prediction, that Red Bull aren't going to be washed like they were in Bahrain. They're going to be closer to where they were in Suzuka. Maybe second, maybe third quickest car. It's kind of where I'm feeling Red Bull this weekend. And then a big drop down to Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. George Russell doing the business for Mercedes, but yeah, still plenty to play for, and still 4 drivers yet to score a point. Will Alonso, Lawson doing, or Bortoletto getting the points. Time will tell on that front. And then team standings, McLaren well ahead, looking pretty comfortable, looking pretty solid. A lot would have to go wrong for them to lose the constructors this year, which should mean that their team can allow their drivers to just go for it, and almost kind of Mercedes 2014, 15, 16-esque, where Lewis and Nico tripping up over each other didn't deny them the constructors. It'd be great to see Mercedes start winning races, Ferrari and Red Bull start winning more races as well, but if it is McLaren domination, at least let the drivers fight. And as much as it does feel like advantage Oscar at the moment, you cannot write off Lando. You cannot write off Lando. At this stage, it's looking good for Oscar, but you cannot write off Norris. Not by any stretch. Everyone scored a point as well. Well done, everyone. 6 points for Sauber, 6 points for Alpine, bringing up the rear. Racing Bull 7, Aston Martin 10. So it's all pretty close between, even Williams on 19 and Haas on 20. I mean, it's apart from apart from Sauber, P6 to P9 in the constructors, sorry, P5 to P9 in the constructors feels like an absolute coin flip. I ain't got a Scooby who's going to finish where. So, and that's great. That's great. That's what we love to see. That's what we love to see. If the midfield's not going to be knocking on the door for wins and podiums, and it's not going to be, at least be consistently inconsistent, and that's what we're getting. Because Racing Bulls were nowhere in Bahrain, but then in Suzuka they were flying. You know, it's great. I love it. I love it. Cool. Excellent. Bangers and clangers then. Predictions. How do we think things are going to go this weekend? I've made my predictions and you've made yours. Make sure you... Well, actually, I'm not going to tell you to. I'm going to get him to. Enjoying this podcast, please, please, please give it a good rating. 5 stars would be lovely. A comment, engage however you can. It helps get the CHINWAG out to the world. There you go. See? That works, doesn't it? That works an absolute treat. So... Bangers and clangers. My race winner for the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I missed last week for the first time. I've got 3 out of 4 so far. I predicted Lando to win in Bahrain. I went with the wrong McLaren guy. It was Oscar in the end. Now, the thumbnail, Ferrari to bounce back. I'm going Charles Leclerc. The Ferrari runs well around Saudi. I think in Bahrain, without that safety car, they're possibly onto a better result than they actually got. They've now had a week away to crunch the numbers on that floor and understand what didn't quite work. I think around Jeddah, I think Charles Leclerc, I think he can do it. I think he can win the race. I do. And look, all of the insane copium, except 3 out of 5 already, Stella. Look, you called me crazy for predicting Max to win in Suzuka, and he won in Suzuka. I'm saying Charles. I'm going Charles. I think it's going to happen. I think Charles can find a way, and I think where Ferrari understand this track well, and I think they deliver a strong package around this track, and with Red Bull's inconsistency, I think that's going to rob Max of the confidence he needs to maximise his lap time. You could say the same about, well, obviously with Yuki it would be the same. George and Mercedes, you never know, right? George is going to get a pole at some point this year. I don't think it's going to be around Saudi, but he will at some point this year. I'm going Charles. I think Charles is going to get the job done. I think he's going to win the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But what about you? Well, 1,305 of you voted. Thank you very much for voting again. Make sure you subscribe so you can see the community posts, which has a link to the polls that I usually post on the Monday or Tuesday at the start of the week to get your thoughts and feelings, or follow me on Twitter at TOMMO'S. Your race winner prediction is Oscar Piastri with 45, I can't read, percent of the vote. 45% of the vote. Oscar Piastri, 18% Lando Norris, 12% Nico Hülkenberg. You've done it again. You've put in P3 in the race winner predictions again. Gonna have to bump that up next time. 12% of you. And 10% George Russell. You voted Hulk. You voted... look, right, I can literally... I've got the poll here. 160 people voted Nico Hülkenberg to win the race. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. It's just funny how everyone's kind of coalesced around Nico. We just got to get him that podium, man. We've got to get him that podium at a minimum before he retires. Come on, please. I beg. So, and then George Russell, 10% of the vote. So yeah, 45 Oscar, 18 Lando, 12 Nico, 10% George Russell is your race winner vote. Can Oscar go back to back? Time will tell. Banger drive for me. I've gone Ollie Behrman. I think Ollie had a really strong race last weekend in the Haas. He's clearly getting more comfortable with that car. Bad qualifying, granted, but he is a bit of a Saudi merchant. Okay, similar to Checo, I guess, in that regard. He loves it round here. Rapid in F2, did a great job in F1 around here last year in the Ferrari. And I expect good things from Ollie Behrman this weekend. And yes, he is. Yeah, exactly. Ollie and Charles are both British, hence why I voted for them. DH. So I'm going Ollie Behrman. I think Ollie's going to have a banger this weekend in a Haas that is very, very up and down, very, very inconsiderate, inconsistent. Is my brain okay today? Can Ollie Behrman in his inconsiderate Haas? His inconsiderate Haas. Brilliant. Who's first into walk? I mean, that's it. That's a prediction. That is a prediction. I've gone Ollie Behrman. You've gone Charles Leclerc. Listen, for him to bang, surely he wins the race, okay? Now, this was a very even spread of votes, I've got to say. 14% of you went Charles Leclerc, 12% at Kimi Antonelli, 12% Ollie Behrman, 12% George Russell. Do the exact numbers here. So 158 people went Charles. Then 140 went with Kimi. Then 138 went with Ollie. And then 134 went with George. So a very even spread, okay? We're not doing this doesn't add to 100% thing again, okay? We're not doing this. So Charles Leclerc is going to win, basically, and you believe it as well, even though live chat is lambasting me. Clearly, you put in banger, all right? I don't make the rules. I do make the rules. I don't interfere with the rules, okay? The rules are what they are. Hence why Hulkenberg's third in race winner. So, your race winner, my God, is Oscar Piastri and banger driver Charles Leclerc. My race winner is Charles Leclerc and banger driver Ollie Behrman. Now to the clangs. Who's going to stink it up in terms of driver this weekend? Okay, so honestly, for me, I've got to look at a driver who's struggling with confidence in their car right now. So candidates for me are Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull. Considered putting him again because obviously he's getting up to speed in the Red Bull, but maybe that's a bit harsh. Lando, struggling for confidence in that car. Lawson, he's struggling with that move down. I wouldn't agree with Science, Burke. I think Science is getting there. I wouldn't agree with Doohan actually either. I think Doohan's getting there, although Doohan is a rookie and probably a bit crash happy. Stroll obviously. Stroll is, yeah. Stroll's always going to attract the clanger votes, I'm afraid. I've gone with Lando. I think, given he overpushed last year in Saudi, made a mistake in qualifying, which ruined his race. He's struggling with confidence in this car, and he's going to feel like he's going to need to extract it all. I just feel like this has Lando shunting in qualifying written all over it. Because I think he's going to push too hard in a car he's not feeling completely at ease with. I think if we had a week between last race and this one, it's a bit more time for Lando to understand what went wrong for him in Bahrain. But I'm sensing a Lando clanging qualifying that's going to hurt him. We'll see. So my clanger is Lando Norris. Your clanger is Liam Lawson. 20% of the vote for the Kiwi, 16% for Lance Stroll, 11% for Lando Norris, and 8% for Lewis Hamilton. Next, banger team. I've gone Ferrari because Charles going to cook. I reckon Charles wins and Lewis top 4. I'm not going to say podium. I think top 4 for Lewis. And Charles wins the race. That's what I'm saying. I think Charles will cook the most. I think Lewis will also simmer something out. You know, that nice little side dish. You know, Charles bringing the main course. Lewis with the little side dish. Ferrari, Fred for Sir, serving it all up. Bosh. Ferrari, don't make me look stupid. I've fallen into the trap. Look. I've got to mindlessly, delusionally back my prediction for Charles Leclerc to win this 2025 World Championship that I made at the start of the year. And this is where it turns around. it turns around in Saudi. This is where Ferrari completely changing their car. It bears the fruits in Jeddah. Okay. Copium, perhaps, but it's what we're doing. And your banger team is Mercedes, 25% of the vote, 21% Ferrari, 20% McLaren, 10% Williams. Mercedes have been a very, very sure thing, a very, very easy bet so far this year, haven't they? So, yeah, I see where it comes from. I see the vision, putting Mercedes as banger team. I respect that. And then finally, clanger team. Which team's going to stink it up most of all? I've gone Alpine. I think their power unit disadvantage is going to hurt them in Saudi, and that is why I've put them as clanger. It's so close in that midfield battle that them having their anemic Renault engine is ultimately going to mean that we see no Alpine in Q3. Maybe one of them squeaks into Q2. Even then, I could see them both going out in Q1, to be honest. I'm pretty sure last year Alpine stunk. And yeah, I just, around Saudi, it's just not the track for a power unit disadvantage. It really isn't. So I've gone Alpine, and you have gone with Aston Martin. 31% of 1,305 of you voted for Aston Martin as clanger, 15% Red Bull, 12% Sauber, and 9% Alpine. Look, I need doing points as well, Gladiator, but not around Saudi. I don't think it's happening around Saudi Arabia. I really, really don't. So, these are yours. Oscar, Charles, Liam, Mercedes, Aston, and mine, Charles, Ollie, Lando, Ferrari, Alpine. We're all different, which is good. And we both win if Charles wins the race, because obviously, surely, if he wins the race, I'm going to have to give him banger driver, or at least he's going to be up there in terms of, you know, he's going to be. I'm going to be allowed to give him a tick next to. Why's my mouse not working? There we go. So, who's going to be right? I think me. I mean, I need it because you out-predicted me last weekend, but it's not going to happen again, okay? I promise you that. I can make that promise, okay? Right, team by team, anything to say about Sauber that's new in the news cycle? No. Jonathan Wheatley's there now, and Red Bull can't do pit stops anymore. Maybe that's correlated, maybe it's not. Hulk to win. I mean, 160 of you think he's going to win this weekend. Remains to be seen on that one. Alpine. Okay, so Alpine, we've had a bit of media chatter around Jack Doohan that he's done enough to secure at least till the mid-season point with the team. Questionable whether this is, you know, Flavio putting news out there to try and see if Franco's Argentinian backers are going to cough up money to try and push a move through for Colapinto to get into that seat. However, I like to think, and from the numbers that I've seen and watching the practice sessions and quali deltas between him and Gasly, I do think Jack's been doing a decent job. So I like to think that there's more to it than just, you know, Flavio playing games, but who knows, because it's Flavio, right? But I'm glad. To be honest, like, I want to see Jack get at least half a season. If Jack does as he is right now, where he's, you know, not mile off Gasly, but, you know, he's a bit mistake prone, whatever. Would I be massively upset about them putting Colapinto in for the second half of the season? No, probably not, to be honest. Like, I think Jack's doing a good job, but I could see why they would give Franco the second half of the season. But for them to pull Jack after like 3, 4, 5 races, that would have been ridiculous. But I think if they give him 12, which it sounds like they're gonna, and if he can prove himself, great, keep him in the seat. And if he can't make a massive step forward and he can't impress, then all right, fine, give Franco a chance to show what he can do in the Alpine. And then, you know, for 2026, Alpine have really tested out good, you know, 2 good solid juniors and Doohan and Colapinto, and can make a decision between, you know, whether one of those two alongside Pierre for 26 with the Mercedes engine in the back, remember, as well. Because I do think this Endstone car is going to be a more competitive beast with a Mercedes engine in the back of it, absolutely. You know, think of how they're not hanging off the back, even though they've got a power unit disadvantage compared to everybody else, even Sauber. Yeah, I think I would understand the logic in that. But I hope Jack does well, and if he doesn't do well enough, I hope Franco comes in and gives it. I mean, they both seem like, Franco seems like a great kid, Jack seems like a great kid. Yeah, we'll see. But so far, so good. Jack Doohan seems to be safe and secure for now. For now, things can change. Yeah, look, Ferrari, my delusion, call it what you want. It's got to turn around at some point this year, I think. And I feel like Saudi's a place to do it. I think Charles can pull out a big lap here. And yeah, just you look at a few little, the few little glimmers. You know, what could have been in Bahrain without that safety car? What could have been in China if Charles didn't have that wing damage? We don't know. It's hard to say how those races would have turned out if things had gone optimally for Ferrari, but there's still something there. It's in there somewhere, you know. It's hiding. It's hiding deep down, but it's in there somewhere. The belief, and I think Saudi's where it starts. That ship starts to turn around, and I think Charles wins this Grand Prix. We'll see. I think that's very harsh, Robert. Doohan's a waste of space. I think that's very, very harsh when you actually look at the numbers. I think that's. I don't think that's fair at all. Haas, any news? I don't think so. Behrman's gonna cook points. That's about it. I wouldn't say like. Actually, let's do a quick poll. This is a good opportunity. We'll go quickly back to Alpine. Who do you think is the better F1 driver? Based off of, now we've seen, because how many races did Colapinto get? F1 driver right now. Colapinto or Doohan? There we go. Boom. What do you think in the poll? Because they've both, Colapinto had 7, didn't he? 8? I don't even know. And Doohan's now he's had a sprint as well in China. Colapinto had a sprint, didn't he? Yeah, I'm sure he had at least one sprint. Yeah, I mean, they've had a fairly similar number of races. Colapinto showed speed. He did. I think Jack has, I mean, in what? I know you're having to nitpick a bit and look at really specific data points, but there have been points where Doohan has showed, like in Australia without Lewis messing up and bringing out the yellow flags, Doohan was on for possibly out qualifying Gasly and getting into Q3 without the wave yellows. And in Q1, he was quicker than Gasly in Q1, and in Q2, he just messed up his outlap in terms of he went into his push lap with the tyres way too hot, and that's why he was like 6/10 off. But this is why it's so hard. It's so hard to make any kind of judgment on this sport in any like absolute sense, because it's never just about the driver. It's always about it's the driver's natural talent combined with their ability to work with the pit wall to get the tyres in the right window. There's so much nuance. And I just feel like what we've seen from Jack, he hasn't actually been that far off Pierre, in my opinion. But Colapinto came in and was, in terms of absolute pace, he came out the blocks flying and was matching Alex like straight away, and then started to gradually kind of fall away a bit, and the incidents were creeping in. And I think it kind of woke Alex up a bit, because those first 2-3 weekends, Colapinto was right there with Albon. And then it kind of fell away for a bit for Franco. And Alex, I think that's a combination of Franco's incidents and Alex waking up and being like, all right, hang on, finally I've got a bit of a challenge in this second car for the first time. So, who do you think is the better F1 driver right now? 58% of you say Colapinto, 42% Jack Doohan. Who do I think is the better driver? You know the unknown with Colapinto is that will his promise that he showed, because I would say if you can guarantee Colapinto shows the same level of promise in the Alpine as he did in the Williams, I would probably say Colapinto. The thing is, Doohan's actually driving the Alpine. He did loads of TPC in the Alpine. And the Alpine is the car with the opportunity here. Whereas with Colapinto, all of his promise was shown in a Williams, which is not the same. It's a different power unit, different chassis. So it's harder to look in the same way. It's different. Of course it's different. But like when Nick De Vries cooked in the Williams, and it was only one race, yes, granted. But he never showed the level of promise in AlphaTauri that he ever did during that one, than he did in that one race. Like that was the peak. That Williams race was his best race in F1, and he never got even, I would say, close to that in terms of quality of performance in different hardware. So that's the gamble with Colapinto. Colapinto cooked in the Williams. He was really good and definitely like. If they hadn't got Science, Albon Colapinto would have been a really good, I think, solid lineup, and you build Colapinto in that Williams. But they got Science, so it's like, all right, sweet, we'll loan him out. But there is no guarantee Colapinto would show the same promise in the Alpine hardware. Tough choice, yeah. You're 55-45 to Colapinto's favour, which, yeah, I would... It's so marginal. That's the thing. It's so marginal. But that is why, if they give Doohan half the season and he's like still doing, he's not blowing Gasly out the water, right? And he's kind of doing this kind of level he is at the minute, then I wouldn't be against chucking Colapinto in for the second half, because then you can actually see what Colapinto's like in this car. I know they've done TPC with Colapinto, which is going to help them inform that decision, but yeah, time will tell. And yeah, look, Colapinto's, I mean, you can make an argument Colapinto is doing better in the Williams than Sainz is right now. You can make that argument, and we know Sainz is quality, so that says it. That says all you need to know. You know. Anyway, right, Racing Bulls. In that poll now. Racing Bulls. Anything news wise? Hadjar? No. Lawson needs to. Liam needs to find something here, because he's come back down to earth with a bump, hasn't he? After being dropped from Red Bull, it's not been great. It's not been great. But yeah, I think that Hadjar had his first kind of difficult weekend. Obviously, Australia was difficult because he didn't even make the race. But since then, it was his kind of first not great weekend last time out. But Hadjar's got it in him. He's got it in him, definitely. McLaren, not much news-wise. McLaren, can't think of anything in particular. We'll say they've still got the best car. Will it be the best around Saudi? Probably yes. But do I think it will have the same advantage it had in Bahrain? Probably not. Hence why Charles Leclerc's going to win. Williams, Science was running well and then got a bit chaotic, and obviously had the hole in his side pod. Albon was caught out in qualifying, bad tyre prep as well. So a bit unlucky, but also a bit on the team and him. Always have to kind of share that responsibility. Not much news-wise there. Mercedes. George Russell contract is a bit of a talking point at the moment, isn't it? Is a bit of a talking point. I do wonder. Let's do a poll. Should Toto replace Russell with Verstappen if he has the opportunity to do so? Yes or no? I'm not including I think Antonelli's shown above my expectations, honestly, of promise. And there's no way, even for Max, there's no way Toto lets Antonelli go, because Antonelli's clearly like a generational talent. I mean, that's so clear to see. So yeah, it's if Max becomes available. I still think, personally, it just makes sense for Max to see how 2026 goes. Because let's say, for example, and I know this is unlikely, right? Say Red Bull actually do pretty well in the new 26 regs with their Ford badged engine. Or say Mercedes don't actually do that well, and maybe Honda with Aston Martin do quite well. I don't think that's a decision Max needs to make now, you know? I still think, no matter how bad the Red Bull's honking right now, it makes more sense for Max to do one move in 2027, you know? See how 2026 pans out. See how big the field spread is, for one thing. And then see who's towards the front, who's towards the back. Whether it's Red Bull with a Ford engine, whether it's Aston Martin with a Honda, whether it's Mercedes with a Mercedes. That's three different teams, three different clear and obvious opportunities. And also any other team, you know, apart from probably McLaren and probably Ferrari. Any of the other smaller teams, of course, would snap Max up in a heartbeat. So, given the way George has started the season, would he be chasing Max because he's talked so highly of Max and because he's gassed Max up so much and because he's so disappointed to lose out on Max in the first place? Would it actually be smart for Toto to sign Max? But also, would it be smart for Max to make that move now? I don't think Max should make that move now. I think he should wait. If 26 is terrible in Red Bull, fine, but then he can see the lay of the land and he can know, right, these are the teams that are banging, these are the teams that are clanging, and then I can make a decision, rather than now where it's still so up in the air. And yes, there's this assumption that Mercedes are going to have the best power unit, but we just don't know. Like, we don't know, they don't know. Mercedes might be happy with the numbers they're getting. Maybe Honda are really happy with theirs and they're just keeping it a bit stum. Like, and I'm sure teams, you know, would try and use that data to hoik Max in, but at the end of the day, you can look at all the simulator, all of the numbers you like when we kick off the season in Bahrain in 2026. That's when all the talking is going to stop, and we're going to see whether this is a disgusting engine formula with really boring racing or actually kind of good. So I think he needs to hold fire for me. For me, he holds fire. Should Toto replace Russell with Verstappen if he has the opportunity to do so? 44% of you say yes. 56% of you say no. I would also agree no. I think George has shown enough progress, not just at the start of this year, but also a lot of last year. And I think Antonelli absolutely has this star quality. And I think putting Max into that Mercedes, I think Toto with his drivers right now is in a really, really strong position. I think he's in a really strong position. Like, one of the best driver lineups in F1. And yeah, I just think, I think it wouldn't be worth changing it, to be honest. I just don't. But yeah, we'll see. George, some publications are saying he's got a contract. Others are saying he's not, in terms of an extension at Mercedes. I think he should be getting a contract extension. I think he deserves a contract extension. But maybe that's just because he's British. You know, he's just British, and that's why. Because that's always the reason. And then Red Bull, pit stop problems, a bit uncharacteristic. Obviously, with Wheatley leaving, Callum's not on pit crew anymore. A bunch of change at Red Bull Racing. It's no smoke without fire. Procedurally, you'd expect that team to be top notch, but seems to be struggling somewhat. I just think, I don't know. I think there's not going to be enough Suzukas, those kind of tracks. with minimal tyre wear. There's not going to be enough of those events for Max to win the title, is ultimately the conclusion I'm coming to. Because if every other Grand Prix was this kind of low degradation one-stopper with that's around a front limited circuit, yeah, Max is up there for a title fight, but that's just not the way it's going to be. Even, look at other front limited circuits like Catalonia. Catalonia is going to be hot. Of course it is. Miami's pretty... Miami front limited. It's a bit of a mixture of Miami, to be fair. I don't think there's enough going to mount a genuine title fight. And that's kind of what Red Bull are all in on at the moment. But at least if they, clang in the constructors, they get more ATR for next year. So that's something. Time will tell. Hopefully Yuki can make a step forward as well. It's been hard to really measure Yuki's performances, but I think he did an all right enough job last weekend. Let's hope for something even better this weekend. And then Aston Martin. It's just not great, is it? It's just not great. I've got nothing to say. Hopefully the steering wheel doesn't fall off this weekend. That is the main point I'm coming away with. Okay, cool, excellent. Any super chats? Main chat. Thank you, Matt, for your super chat. Much appreciated. Start again. So this is where, when I'm editing a video, I can just cut it, and you'd never know. You'd never know. But I'm live. So Jack Brabham has the most wins by an Aussie in F1 with 14. Oscar already has 4. He's already on the verge of legendary status by season's end. I think, obviously, what made a driver like Brabham special is the longevity over many, many years. But also what potentially makes Oscar special here is the drivers he is competing amongst, which is the generation, like realistically, probably the best generation that there's ever been. When you look at the quality of drivers coming through, and you've still got, obviously, it's a shame Alonso doesn't have the car right, but you've got Hamilton, you've got Verstappen, you've got Norris, you've got Leclerc, you've got Russell, you've got these guys who are really at the top of their game. And for Oscar to be doing what he's doing, where he's got 50 race starts, George and Lando have 132, and obviously it only goes up from there with Leclerc and Verstappen and Hamilton. That's what makes Oscar particularly impressive to me, is that he's doing this and he's only had 2 and a bit seasons in F1, and he's fully at home, and now he's maximising himself consistently in a way that he's shown peaks before. But yeah, I think absolutely. I think he's Australia's best hope for a multiple world title winner. Absolutely, I do. Thank you, Reese, as well. Piastri or Lando to win the championship first, or win a championship first. Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm putting money on it today, I'm putting it on Oscar. Absolutely. But can Lando bounce back? He has the talent. Absolutely, Lando has the talent to beat Oscar and win this championship. But it's going to be one of the McLaren boys, surely, this year. And I think it's going to be Oscar. Thank you, Burko. Jeddah, best quality of the year, 100%. Love it. And thank you, Annabelle, as well. Appreciate it. Time, effort, and money for doing as reserve driver. Colapinto doesn't have that. It's true. It's true. And like I say, there's no guarantee. Colapinto's promise that he showed, which was real and genuine, and speed and ability, there's no guarantee that will carry over to the Alpine. The Alpine's going to have its own nuances in the way it's driven. They're going to have the data to make they had the data to make the call on doing in the first place, right? When Ocon was leaving. And I think internally, for the race did a bit about it, and they were talking about how the race team is backing Jack here, even though De Meo, Briatore, the money men at Alpine are certainly interested in the potential South American market that Colapinto would bring. The race team seems very satisfied with Jack, and as long as that continues, he's in a good spot. He's in a good spot. Right, okay. We are going to wrap this. 45 minutes, bosh. That sounds about right. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate you all taking the time. Sorry about the lag at the start. But I don't know. I don't know what happens because everything's fine on my end. Excellent connection. Excellent connection. That hasn't changed all stream. It said excellent connection on YouTube. And on OBS, it's got 6,160 kilobytes. Nice and green. Full bars, all that. I don't know, right? Enjoy the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I think it's going to be a good one. Charles Leclerc is going to win. And this is where Ferrari turn things around and they start to come back, okay? I don't make the rules. That's just the way it goes, okay? Thank you, Sense, Timo, fantastic. Will.i.am, Lights, Max, Isaac, Famke, Nizam, BR, Champ, Tavi, Timo, Andre. Smash the like, smash it. One of them, bosh, lovely jubbly. And go and watch me play golf on Tom Over Par, if you haven't already, if you like golf. I played another round yesterday and I recorded it. And I hit a much better score than I did in my first game, which is great. Anyway, right. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.